There we go, just making sure my sound is on. And I am pretty sure I'm live. Welcome, thank you so much for joining in today. Just quickly making sure everything works, and I think it does, which is fantastic. Welcome. We are going to do a bit of sketchbooking today. It is a lovely sunny day here in the UK, and I've already done some sketchbooking outside earlier. I have this small sketchbook, of which I will do a sketchbook tour at some point soon, that I used to do some drawing outside earlier. So I was sitting in one of my local parks looking out over a bridge and doing some sketching. Only for like 5-6 minutes. It's a really quick sketch, but it's a really great way of implementing art into your daily life in a really quick way. So that's why I have this small sketchbook as well, so I can carry it with me in my pocket when I'm out and about. But that's not what I'm using today. I'm going to use my See Right of Brighton sketchbook, which is this square one. And as you can see, it starts to fill up quite nicely. I am probably on 3/4 now, so I have a little bit of space left, and it's filling up really nicely. And you can see a little bit of the marks from the last drawing shine through the page. Some of these green lines are pressing through a little bit. It doesn't matter, I'm just going to draw over it. I am not bothered by lines from other pages that are pressing through. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Irene. I am Dutch, I'm from the Netherlands and I live in the UK. And I am an illustrator and sketchbook artist. I have this YouTube channel and I run lots of art courses and classes. And on this channel I really want to inspire people to pick up a pencil or a pen and just start drawing. Try not to be a perfectionist and just enjoy the flow of making art. I just need to make my table a little bit lower. So, there we go, that's better. And then I'm ready to get started. So you can see there's a reference photo on screen. This is a photo from Pinterest. I've linked my Pinterest board in the chat. So if you have a look there, you might scroll up a little bit. I have just linked that to the chat so you can find it there. And I will pin all my all the photos I'm using today to that Pinterest board. So if you want to draw along, or if you're watching this later, this is where you can find all the pictures. And I'm just finding random photos of fruit that appeal to me and of which I like the color. So I've not prepared lots of photos, only this first one, and I'll go through Pinterest and find photos that catch my eye on the go. I love drawing for life, but for these sessions from photos is a little bit easier for me to organize. So this is my sketchbook, and I am also going to use my Faber-Castell pencil set. I am very lucky, I have a very large set of pencils. So this is one of the 3 trays. And I will tell you what colors I'm using, but you don't need to have this set or these exact colors. Just grab any pen or any pencil and draw along with me. I want this to be as sort of easy to follow along with as possible. And if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. I am very happy to answer them. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Making sure I'm sharp, and then I'm going to dive straight in there. So I decided to start with these figs. I think figs are beautiful fruit. I love the colors of them and I love the taste as well. So let's start with those. And I'm just starting with a purple color. So the name of this color is Bengalese Violet. I'm always in awe of the names of color pencils. They're just the most beautiful names. So Bengalese Violet, and this is number 160 of this set. But again, you don't need to have the exact colors. Any colors are fine, and just draw with the materials that you have. Oh, sorry, I'm just bumping into my microphone there. I do need to sharpen my pencils a little bit. So let me quickly empty. So this one. So always work with a sharp pencil. It makes a world of difference. There we go. Just easing into this practice today. There we go. I should have another sharpener here somewhere that I like a little bit better, but I don't know where I put it. This should be okay for now. There we go. So for anything that I am drawing, I always like to start with the really large shapes, really simplify matters. And it's the case for what I'm doing today as well. So if I'm looking at these figs, you can see that the shapes are sort of rounded, a little bit pointy at the top. So making sure I can see what I'm doing. There we go. And when I draw in color pencils, now there's different techniques and everyone does things a bit in their own way. When I'm drawing with color pencil, I prefer working fairly small if I have shorter sessions. And I'm starting really light. So I'm just starting to sketch this out, just focusing on that shape. So I'm just going over those green lines there from the drawing on the other side. And this is sort of my messy sketchbook. And I don't mind it being a bit messy. That's the purpose of this sketchbook. And it is fine for that purpose. I have another sketchbook that I want to look a little bit nicer, that I'm a bit more precious about, that I also use on this channel sometimes. But when I draw in that, I usually prepare some sketches, or I go in with a little bit more preparation and a bit more determination as well. So this is the initial shape. I think I might just do that one fig and then one of the slices instead of doing all of them. So that one is going to be, maybe I put it a bit higher here next to it. So I'm just picking one of the slices and starting with that initial shape as well. So I'm working light, and I'm going from light to dark. So from light to dark, and then slowly start adding detail. So, and it's okay if the shape is a little bit different from the one in the photo. That's a good thing about drawing fruit and vegetables. It's okay if they're a little bit wonky. We will still recognize them for what they are. So these are my initial sketches. You can see really light and really simple. I might just move this a little bit. There we go. And I think I can zoom in a little bit more so you can see even a bit better what it is that I'm doing. There we go. So you can see next to my finger, my drawing is very small. I would really recommend not starting too large, because drawing in color pencil can take quite a long time, and we want to be able to finish our drawings. The next color that I'm going to pick is either a light yellow or a light green. I'm having a look in all the colors that I have. Maybe this really bright sort of greenish yellow for the sort of edge of the fruit, and a little bit for inside the purple as well. And this color is called cadmium yellow lemon, and it's number 205. Again, you don't need this exact color. Any light color, yellow or green, is going to work perfectly. Your drawing quality is not dependent on having the exact colors. So really don't feel like it is. It's nice to have lots of colors, but it can also be limiting because it can be a bit overwhelming. So don't feel like you need to have all these colors. Any light color is perfect. And I'm just starting to add that quite softly at the top of this part of the fruit, and also here the inside slice. I'm sort of adding it a bit everywhere. Even where the red is, it sort of shines through a bit, that color. So you can see we can see some of that green shining through. That's okay, doesn't bother me. So So know that that's not part of the drawing, that's something that was already on the paper. So slowly building up the color. And with these two colors, I'm going to slowly build up the color of this fruit. And they're quite cold colors, as you can see. Both are quite cool, sort of colder tones. I've picked a colder tone purple and a colder tone yellow. Just because these are the colors that I saw in the picture and I liked them. So I decided to stick with the same. But if you have a warmer tone purple and a warmer yellow, the look and the feel of your drawing is going to be a little bit different. Not better, not worse, just a little bit different. So I'm just slowly starting to build up some color. If you are drawing along, let me know. I'm really curious to hear where you're from. What part of the world are you from? And if you are sketching with me today, so there we go. I have quite a busy day today because I'm hosting 2 live sessions, this one, and then at 5 o'clock I have my community live session where we are painting or drawing a landscape, illustrating it. So I have 2 live sessions today and I'm working on a new children's book and I have a few other commissions as well. So it's a busy day, especially because I've just been on holiday. I have a lot to catch up on, which I like. It's nice to be busy. So I'm making this a bit darker as well. And you can see from the photo what the picture is sort of inspired by. So there we go. And this will be available to watch back later. So if you don't have the chance to stay till the end, you can always come back and finish your drawing later. Just a little tip. So adding in a little bit more yellow here. It's probably a bit more yellow than it needs right now, but that is okay. I will go over there with more purple to make it a bit darker. So let's add in some red. I also feel like the color of this one needs to be a bit warmer as well, so I can also incorporate a bit of a red tone in there. So I have a whole selection of different tones red. Which one shall I go for? Maybe slightly more pink. Might use that. I'll put it here. And a slightly darker red. There we go. I'm literally just picking these colors. Yep, just on what I think would look nice. So this one is a little bit lighter. This one is a little bit darker. This one is called Pompeian red. And this one is pink carmine. The numbers are 127 and 191. You can see the colors are actually quite close together. I think I might start with this one. Maybe I need a slightly lighter pink instead of this one. But let's start here and we can always see if I want to add something more. So, sharpen my pencil. And I'm quite carefully going to start adding in a bit more detail in this. In the middle of this fruit. So I can see that there's a bit of a highlight in the middle and then there's lots of interesting scribbly shapes here on the outside. So I'm just starting to add a bit of color, but immediately start adding in a little bit of these sort of random shapes. So, sort of random, they're like little sort of twirls. I've got quite a sharp pencil and I'm trying to create a little bit of texture here. So this may be a circle and I'm looking at the photo and I'm being inspired by the shapes that I'm seeing there, but it's okay if the shapes are not exactly the same. it's absolutely fine to just be inspired by those shapes, and that you don't have to replicate them exactly as they are in the photo. So I was thinking we could do multiple pieces of fruit, but I think just this little drawing might take quite a long time. This is the thing when I draw in color pencil, it always takes me longer than in ink or like some of the other drawing techniques that I use. So I thought it'd been a little while since I used my color pencil set, and I wanted you to be able to draw along. So there we go. Making that a bit darker. See, I'm slowly starting to build up the color there. Because the yellow is already underneath, you can see that that shines through the layers of color. So maybe some of the red sort of incorporates here in the purple. Making some areas a little bit darker. So I'm just slowly building up the color. So I think I'll work on this picture for another 5 minutes and then we'll go to the next one. So I also want to add a bit of color in this one. You can really go for lots and lots of detail here. So whether you are drawing along with color pencil or with a different type of pen, doesn't really matter. Just 15 minutes for drawing in any material is not that long. If you work in pen, for example, maybe you want to draw a little bit larger, or do the entire picture where you do the leaf and the other ones as well. So if I mix up the purple with that yellow a little bit here, the tone of the color changes. So I think I might leave it like that for now. I start adding in a little bit of different fruit, and then I might always come back here and add in a bit more detail. There we go. First piece of fruit is done. So what shall we draw next? Let's have a look. Maybe I think lemons might be a bit light on the white paper. So how about a kiwi? Make sure you can see that okay. See, I can change the size of the drawing a little bit. There we go. This is the trick, and I will save this also to my board. So again, if you are drawing along, know that you can find all these photos on Pinterest. I have pinned them to my board, and I've linked that board all the way at the top of the chat. So the board is just Pinterest, and if you go /makings and musings, you'll find it. So I don't need these colors anymore, so let me put them back. I'm usually a bit lazy with putting my colors back, and then I get a really messy box of pencils. So let's not do that today. And I am good and put everything back immediately. So I think I might need some green. for this kiwi. Maybe a bit of a brown tone. Maybe that one. And maybe a darker green. So, and then a really dark tone. Maybe this dark blue. I don't think I need black. So there we go. You could use black for the little pips as well, but a darker tone works really well. So the colors I have here, the light green is May green, 170. The dark green is dark phthalo green, which is 264. The brownish one is burnt ochre, which is 187. And this is dark indigo, 157. I don't usually list the names and the numbers, but I thought let's see if that is something that people wanted to hear. So let me know if you enjoy knowing the exact numbers of what it is that I'm doing. So I think I'm just going to carry on here. So I've adjusted my paper a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to start with this light green. There we go. So I think I'll do the same, just one kiwi and then the whole one on the background, because of the sort of considering of the amount of time that we have, and then I might be able to do another type of fruit. So I'm just outlining that shape, really focusing on the rough shapes first. So, and I can color that in. If I use the side of my pencil quite gently, not too stripy. So, I've done an entire course of mixing colors and how you can create, for example, realistic skin tone by mixing up different colors without using any browns or pinks. And so you don't need to have these exact colors in order to make sort of a realistic looking kiwi, but it does help. It is a little bit faster if you do have the colors, but I just want you to know that you don't need to have the perfect colors. And it's also okay to draw something in colors that are not, you know, the official realistic colors. So using that burnt umber, burnt ochre, I should say. I always mix those two up for the outside. They're both sort of my favorite colors to use as well. There we go, so going all the way around the edges. If you are drawing along and you share what you make on Instagram, make sure you tag me, because then I can share it in my stories as well, if you like, if you want me to share it in my stories. Of course, I don't have to if you don't want to, but if you like me to do that, then make sure you tag me. So I'm going straight in for these little pips. And again, I am not counting the ones in the photo, but I am being inspired by the shapes that I'm seeing and the way they're sort of going around that middle. And so I'm following that sort of rough shape without counting out exactly how many there are in the picture. So, I love kiwis as well, they're delicious. So, I like most fruit apart from melon. I'm not a big fan of melon. I like watermelon, but not normal. It's not like I will eat it, but I'm not a big fan. So adding in a bit of the darker green around there. And again, just focusing on those shapes, and I'm noticing they're almost like sort of little circular sort of pockets around the pips. And I see that the color green that I've chosen is not quite the right color. That's okay, doesn't really matter in the long run. the color that I'm seeing there is a bit more of a mossy sort of, has less blue in it. This is the color that I've picked. Has quite a lot of blue in it. So I'm using circular motions to create that sort of rounded shapes on the inside. Actually, I can zoom in a little bit more, and you can see maybe a little bit better what I'm doing. I always find it quite funny that if you look at something from a distance, it looks very detailed, and then you zoom in and you suddenly see all the pencil strokes and you realize that it's not that realistic after all. See, there we go. So maybe I want to have a bit more color in this light green. So I'm going around the edge. I'm just looking at that picture, see where the different tones of color are in this piece of fruit, because it's not an even color. There's a lot of different colors sort of happening at the same time. So again, still using circular motions here. Sometimes zigzag motions. I'm doing this all quite soft, blending the colors in a bit together. So if you look back over previous live sessions, you can see that they're all a little bit different. Sometimes we sketch in pen, sometimes in color pencil. I've done some sessions as well with watercolors. But I'm trying to pick, I sort of moved away from that a little bit because I'm trying to pick things where the sort of materials that you can join in with any art material. But I can do some more watercolor sessions as well. So if there's something specific that you would like to practice, let me know. I'm always happy to see if it is something that I can help with. So I'm making the pips a little bit darker. I'm using blue instead of black. So. Just zoom out for a little bit, see what that looks like. I always find it quite interesting to see the difference between that sort of close-up look and a little bit further away. There we go. I'm going to do the other kiwi behind it. Remember, this is just sketchbook work. If I was making a fruit sort of painting, I would probably work on this a little bit longer. We practice our observation skills at the moment. We're practicing our hand-eye coordination. So lots of good things going on. I also want to sort of move away from things having to be perfect. I think perfectionism is something that is a bit idolized in nowadays society. But when it comes to art, it can be so limiting, and it's better to, I feel, if it stops you from making art, because you're worried about making mistakes, or you're worried about not creating something that's perfect, then try to let go of that perfectionism and embrace the messiness, the wonkiness, the funny, the spontaneous, everything that is a bit more freeing. So you can see that I'm sort of loosening up my drawing as well. I started the first one really careful, and now I'm slowly loosening up my sketching practice. So. maybe I want a bit of green in that kiwi color. So, they're a bit more of a brown tone in this picture, and there's often a little bit of green in there, so let's mix that in. I think for the shadows I can use that darker blue tone. So maybe there should be a bit of a shadow here between the two. And then here at the end, so there we go. And a few little blemishes on the skin. Zoom out for a moment. I think I'm going to leave that kiwi for what it is. There we go. I've just added a bit of light to my table. I can already, even though it's a really sunny day, I can already notice that the days are getting a little bit shorter, and it gets a little bit darker a bit quicker. Let's have a look. I like these avocados, peaches. How about these? I quite like this. So let's add that to the board. These pears, it's actually a recipe to make cranberry sauce. And let me change that shape a little bit. There we go. So in this type of fruit, this is why I picked these pears. We can combine different colors a little bit more. So we want some yellow, some green, some red, some colors that we can mix up together and then create that nice sort of blushy red fruit. So let me pick some red. Here's some orange. Some yellow as well. There we go. Let's start with this. I can always add in a bit more. Maybe I need to keep that brown. So, see, there we go. A nice little sort of reddish rainbow of colors. And I'm going to draw that pear here. I think I'll just do the sort of main one. And I'm going to sketch it in this orange color, because I could sketch. Usually I would recommend starting with your lightest color, but that yellow will be really hard to see if I use that to sketch with, and I want you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to use orange, but usually I recommend starting with your lightest color and then build it up. I quite like these green marks around it. Maybe I can do something with that to bring everything together. So let me decide on the shape. So it's a bit rounded here at the top. So then a bit of a slopey sort of side, and then it turns really round. So roughly like that. A really classic pear look. And there's a few highlights on here. So here I might draw those out. So that shape is a highlight. So if I zoom in a bit more, you can see where I added that line. See, I sort of left that area so I can leave that white and show that highlight. So I'm just going to start adding in a little bit of color. I can slowly build it up. I need a bit of a shadow tone, and for those dark colors I've sort of left those out. So that's okay, I can add those back in. I can add that color in a moment. So I'm just sort of adding a bit of that color So this could be the stem. Starting in orange, I can always go over there and add a bit more of a different color. So a bit of that orange here at the front as well. That whole area that's red, I can start with a bit of orange. And just letting it go lighter here towards the bottom. So leaving that area for the highlight light. So there we go. And it doesn't need to be exactly in the same spot. If your highlight is a little bit different, or your red area is a bit bigger, your yellow area is a bit bigger, that's absolutely fine. I don't want you to feel like, oh, we have to go for photorealism. Absolutely not. So I'm starting to add some yellow to the areas where I see more of a yellow tone. Just leave it here as well. So I'm sort of mixing up the colors, building it up. So I do love pears, but they're a bit of a difficult fruit, aren't they? Because they stay unripe so long, and then suddenly they're really ripe and then they're off. So I don't like pears when they're not ripe enough. My partner doesn't mind, he just eats them however they come. A bit of red here, so I'm just slowly adding the colors to the places where I want them. So building up that color, maybe this red goes over that highlight a bit. So see, there we go. I'm just building up the tone on this one. So slightly, maybe more in-depth than I did on the other ones. Mixing up the colors more. This was a bit more keeping the colors separate. So. And I'm not burnishing yet. If you don't know what burnishing is, I will tell you. I'm not burnishing yet. I'm just mixing up the colors and blending them at the moment. And burnishing is a technique in color pencils where you put a lot of pressure on your pencil and you really keep mixing and keep blending until you get a really soft, even blend where the colors really truly mix up because of the pressure on the pencil. And you can buy some burnishing tools. I have some burnishing pencils somewhere in a drawer. I didn't prepare them for today. And you can use those to really mix up the pigments, like really sort of intently. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm just softly layering at the moment. If you want to know more about burnishing, I can tell you. I can show you next time a bit more. So there we go. We start to create a little bit of that pear shape, and I want to start adding some shadows. And I think I am going to use a purple tone for the shadow. So I've picked this magenta. It's one of my favorite colors. I use it a lot in my color pencil drawings. And I'm using that as a shadow tone. See, it's quite a bit darker than the rest. It's much warmer than this purple that we used for the fix. So I'm really adding that to the darker side. The paper that I'm using is fairly small. It has a little bit of fairly, not small, fairly smooth. It has a little bit of texture on it. So you can see the texture shine through the drawing a little bit, but it's mostly smooth compared to some of my watercolor papers, for example. So adding some shadows here at the bottom where you have those indentations. I love this purple as a shadow color. I think it's quite gentle, a gentle shadow compared to using a black or a grey. I think purple makes a wonderful shadow color. So adding a bit of detail here. So you can use the tip of your pencil to add in some more detailed lines. maybe a bit of an outline on that side. When it comes to outlines, people have really strong feelings about outlining your work, which I find quite funny. People feel so strong about so many things. And all I'd say is up to you. It's a style choice. If you put a line around your drawings, it gives a bit more of that sort of cartoon look, a little bit more stylized. If you want to draw a bit more realistic, I would recommend being very careful with outlines, because you might, it's not a realistic thing. Like if you see sort of my hand here on camera, there's no outline around it, and the shadows are sort of soft, and there's other ways of showing the difference between one area and another than adding an outline. So I can see why you have to be careful with it, and this is something that I would recommend. But if you're sketching in your sketchbook and you want to put a line around what you're doing, go for it. If you don't like it, then don't do it next time. But if you want to do it at this moment of time, I wouldn't judge you, so I just did an outline around my drawing. So let's add some freckles to the side of the bear. So some little marks. I think that looks quite nice. Let me zoom out a bit, see what that looks like. Quite fun, I think, this page. I buy a lot of fruit, but I don't eat a lot of fruit. I buy it and then my partner eats it all. But I don't know, there's just something really lovely about buying fruit and having it on a fruit bowl. But then when it comes to eating, I prefer vegetables, usually. So, just makes a little bit of like a sticker, doesn't it? Like if you put an outline around something, you can cut it out a bit easier if you want to use it sort of in Photoshop, for example, if you want to make stickers or if you want to do something else. Like sometimes there's a clear benefit to putting an outline around something. So let's add a bit more yellow into this kiwi. So just by adding a layer of yellow, I change the tone of the kiwi quite a bit. So there we go. A bit sunnier view. Should we add a few marks around here? I might use a marker for that. So I just had some markers here that I took with me earlier today. And I just want to bind this together a little bit. So maybe I can use those lines created in the drawing on the other side. So it's okay if it's a bit messy. I just want to fill the page with a little bit of like natural sort of moves, bring things together. So maybe I can color that in. That will probably shine through to the other side again, and that's okay. That's what the sketchbook is for having fun. I think that looks quite nice. So remember to subscribe to my channel if you've not done so yet, if you enjoyed the session. And if you want to do more art with me, I know that most people who watch my videos are not subscribed yet. So if you enjoy it, make sure you do. And then you get notified every time I do a video or when I share a new video. So. This green is almost run out. I need to replace it. And there's something quite magical about using a marker that's almost run out of ink. It's a lot of fun to use a marker that's almost run out of ink, and it gives it works really well for sketching. If you think, oh, my markers are running out, don't throw them away quite yet. If there's a little bit of color, it can work really well sort of around your sketches or something. A bit softer, a bit gentler. Adding in a little bit more doodles. So. There's no rules. People always feel like there's rules to making art. But there's not. You can do whatever you want. This is your artwork. If you want to make something abstract of it, go for it. If you want to make something realistic, then practice and become really great at realistic art. There's no good or bad art, it's all just art. So, that's a bit of a deep thought. I think I'm finished with this page. I think it looks quite fun. So, let me remove that for a moment. See, there we go. So this is what we've done today. Used color pencils and then a little bit of marker for the background. Let's see if this pink has pressed through a little bit. It doesn't really matter so much. Oh, if you want to share it with me, Sandy, I would love to see your artwork. If you say it's a bit more detailed, I'd love to see it. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to set up for my live session. I'm going to paint a landscape or draw a landscape. Actually, I'm going to use markers, color pencils and crayons for my landscape today. Thank you so much for joining in. Really lovely to see you. And I will be here again next week for another live session at the same time. So if there's something particular you want to practice, let me know. I can see if that is something that I can do. We do lots of different types of drawings here. This was drawing panda, sometimes in ink. This one is a bit messy. There's what's on the other side. Sometimes we're drawing people. This was some faces that we practiced. So lots of different things, animals. So let me know if there's something you want to practice, and I see you soon. Bye bye.